versus Pereira. Are you happy? I mean, let's start with that. I want to break this down, but are you happy? And what studs? Really, what two incredible athletes. I believe Izzy to be the greatest middleweight of all time. I say this as a middleweight. I say this as well. Many have said I am the greatest of all time, but I think it's him. I think it's him for a lot of reasons. In addition to the fact that he cleaned out a division, and he did what Dana White is calling lapping it. We've never even heard that term. The term lapping a division was brought to our sport. I realize that's like a NASCAR, but it was brought to our sport because of Adesanya. That's how good and dominant he is. And you must understand, tough and good don't always go together. And the tough guys are the ones that can get up when they were knocked down, and that's what Izzy did tonight. But he was so good, he really never had to show us that. Sometimes a guy is so good, he just doesn't deal with adversity. The NCAA just saw in the form of a wrestler called Spencer Lee. Tough and good aren't always the same thing. It was a big deal that Izzy was able to come back. It was a big deal that he was able to go out and perform. It's a big deal that while in the process of taking a fight-ending combination, I mean, God, the guy started with his legs. He goes to his kidney. He goes to his liver. He knees him in the head. Boom. Izzy throws back, puts him down. It really was a remarkable thing. And I want to make sure that I pay that respect to these athletes because they're great. I did not want to see this fight, and neither did you. There has never been a rematch for a title in a main event of our sport, right? A big rematch. Never that was asked for less than this one. Izzy did not call for it. Pereira did not call for it. I could tell you what they both said, because I hear you guys say that they did call for it. You're wrong. You heard it wrong. They both made it clear that if that's what was next, they would do it. They also both made it clear that they are not going to make a demand that that's next. Now you got the media. You got guys like me. You got guys like Rogan. You guys like Ioli. You got Big John out there. You got Ramadi. You got Okamoto. You got Errol Hawaiian. I could play this game. We could have done headlines. I could have come and demanded it. I could have stepped in front of this thing. And me being the proverbial, right? Brendan could have done it. Bisping, some guys with a voice in the sport. We could have come out and done this. None of us did. And I do mean none of us. Nobody asked for this rematch. So now you go to the third variable, which is you. Were you guys in the forums, on the threads, on the social medias, lighting up the Twitterverse, asking for a rematch? And the answer is no. Nobody asked for this rematch. And now I can't help but feel that we must do another match. I mean, that is the biggest problem of all of this. I got asked before this fight, Chael, who do you think's going to win, blah, blah, blah. My response, again, I really respect these guys, but my response was the same. I don't care. I just want it over with. It doesn't feel right. They're not fighting at home. This guy represents this country, and this guy represents this country, and we're going to take him out to Miami and put a guy from Miami on the undercard. I didn't get it. I didn't get the whole thing, but I knew it needed to happen. I knew that was the right fight. I knew those were the two best guys. I wasn't hating on it in that regard, but I did want it done. And I asked several times, and Izzy heard it, and Dana heard it, and Pereira heard it, that one of you three come out and promise us, the viewer, we settle the dispute here. We don't care if it's 3-0 going into this. We don't care what comes out the backside, 3-1 or 4-0. We don't care. We're done here tonight. And they didn't do that. They didn't do it. And now you have a knockout, which is exactly what you had in the first fight, which sets up a true trilogy. In this sport, we don't get very many true trilogies. We were sitting on one and weren't even talking about do it. That was Stipe versus Francis. A true trilogy is not fight number 3. It's fight number 3 when the outcomes are split between the first two. And in this case, they're knockouts. Devastating. Devastated because of the drama of Izzy losing a belt, being up, arguably 4 rounds to none. Worst case scenario, 3 rounds to 1. Getting knocked out in the 5th and final round. Devastatingly dramatic in the fact that you could have counted to 1 if this was boxing. You could have counted to 100, and you'd have still had to call Pereira out. Asleep. Very dramatic. It feels as though we must go to the rubber match. And if we don't, by the way, and you're getting this from a guy that didn't want to see this, but now it feels like we have to. And we wouldn't have to if you would have just taken my advice, which is to come out and say, we're settling here, but you didn't say that. So now, one of those two leaves the division, which is what Pierre wants to do anyway. Or you got to rematch him. And understand, if you don't like what I'm saying about rematch, you don't have another option, right? You got to juxtapose the rematch, the trilogy, the one here, the one there. You got to juxtapose all of this stuff up against a rematch between Whitaker and Adesanya. Do you see the problem? Whitaker has been kept on ice in case Pereira won. Putting Whitaker back in there with Izzy, you see the problem? So it's not really what fight do you want to see more. It's which fight do you want to say least. It's a very peculiar and odd position. And they didn't have to be in it. They all heard me say it, all of them. And now they're wishing they'd have done it. Before the fight, say, this is it, all of it, this one. No redos, no runbacks, no tag-ins, this one right here. They didn't do it. I just want to know how you guys feel about it. Do you feel you could make a justification that you could come out and you could argue? I get that we don't have a jury of our peers. I get that we're in we're in kangaroo court here, but do you feel you could stand amongst that courtroom and make a case for why you're not going to book the biggest rivals who are ranked 1 and 2 and have split outcomes? Do you think that you can argue and convince people that is needed less than Whitaker stepping in against Izzy a third time? Great job. These guys went out and had a great fight. Izzy's champion again. I think Pierre should leave the weight. I think they both got great memories. I hope this helps them both to live and move on. I thought Pierre fought an awesome fight. Adesanya had a massive chance to show us, the audience, that he can deal with adversity and that he can come back. That he's a guy, when he goes down, he gets back up. That was awesome. That will only help to further the already incredible legacy of Israel Adesanya. No doubt about it. It also seems as though it's going to be Groundhog's Day over there. All they had to do was take a little bit of advice from the smartest guy in the room who gave it to him for free.